All right, folks, we're going to go ahead and get started. I just uploaded a copy of the agenda to chat if you prefer to follow along with the agenda. Otherwise, we'll just jump right in. And if this is your first time joining us, thank you so much for being here. We do ask that you keep your microphones muted while other folks are speaking or presenting, just so there's no feedback. But if you do have a question or a comment, everyone will have an opportunity to speak. So no worries there. You can always use the raise hand feature in Zoom, or if you are calling in or don't have that ability, just kind of unmute yourself and let us know, and you'll certainly have an opportunity to speak. I do see someone actually ask a question in chat already. Is this where we ask questions? You certainly can. If you prefer not to speak when the floor is open, you are more than welcome to ask questions in chat, whichever you prefer. So we will just jump right in. Again, if I do happen to see that you're unmuted, I may mute you just to make sure that there's no feedback issues, but that's not to say you can't speak. It's just at that moment, if someone else is speaking, I may need to make sure that there's no issues with audio. So we'll jump right in. Eric, are you ready for Treasurer's Report? You are muted, Eric.
Thank you. All right. Yes, I am. All right. So this is the balance sheet ending last month. You can see we have a little over $5,000 in checking, $12,000 in savings, and petty cash remains at $551. We talked about last month cleaning up the fund balances and kind of reorganizing some dormant funds. And so we basically zeroed those out and moved them into the general fund, and then left a couple of the grant funds that we currently still have money in, and then a little bit left over from the scholarship fund. So you can see there we have a total of almost $18,000 in cash on hand. Any questions on the balance sheet? Okay. Moving over to the income statement, we did have a couple residential memberships come in. We did have one gold business membership come in. So you'll see that there. We had quite a bit of festival income as well. And then we did get 10 cents in on the interest of the savings account. Expenses are pretty typical for the month for rent and utilities. And then we did have two big purchases getting ready for festival expenses that came in. And so you can see for the month, we did have a net loss of a little over $500. Any questions on the income statement? All right. Thanks, everybody. That will look much different after we get done with the festival at the end of the month, which we'll hear more about in a little bit. So thanks, everybody. Jess, back to you.
Thank you so much, Eric. All right, let me get back here to our main screen. Okay, perfect. All right, so we have two zoning items this evening. I'll rather turn the floor over to our zoning chair, Tate. And we're going to have two presentations. 1717 South High Street will be first. If you are not familiar with our presentation process, we will have 5 minutes for the applicant to present their presentation and discuss the variances that they are requesting. I believe one has 7 variances, the other has 8, so quite a few. We will then have another 5 minute period where we collect questions from the group. So we won't do question and answer at the same time, but we'll collect those questions, and Tate will type a brief summary of those into the document on the screen. And then, of course, last but not least, we'll have a 5 minute period for the applicant to then respond to those questions. While we're taking votes and gathering information, we will ask if anyone has any just general comments that they do want to share. Remembering, of course, that if there are comments that are not related to the variance, we're not able to take those into account with respect to our voting process. Our votes are only for the variances, but we certainly want to hear from folks if there are any comments they'd like to share. We will limit these portions as we do have only 15 minutes for the entirety of each presentation. So Tate will likely be using a handy little timer that we have here, courtesy of Zoom, to make sure that we can keep on task. So without further ado, I will turn the floor over. And as we start with each presentation, I will paste a link into chat so that if you are a current member of the association and have been for at least 21 days, you will be able to vote on both of the items up for election tonight, or vote rather. So if you are not using the Zoom app, you can't use the link. You can also just go to merionvillage.org, scroll to the bottom of the page, and you'll be able to find the voting link very easily there as well. Tate, all yours.
Great, thanks, Jess. And just one thing to add there, with those comments that you have, I will send those along with the vote tally to our Southside Area Commission. So those will be along with the votes, just so you know. So those will go on with so the Southside Area Commission will see your comments. Okay, so as Jess said, we have two First one's going to be 1717 South High Street. John, the floor is yours. And John, you are muted.
Good evening. This is additional variances to the application that was made in March and heard in May. As we got closer to the BZA, they came up with a couple other variances that we would need. And so we added those, and now we're back in front of you. Currently, the first four variances that we are asking for were voted on previously. And I can't tell you, one of them failed and three of them passed, I believe, but don't hold me to that. The two additional variances address the existing non-conforming code issues that we have there. A variance to the code section 3372-607B would allow the existing non-conforming chain link fence that goes down the middle of the vacated alley to remain as is. It was never, whenever it got put in, and I don't know when that is, but it happened after the UCO and nobody ever came in front of anybody to get it approved.
John, I'm sorry, super quick. I'm sorry to interrupt. Tate, would you mind just bringing up the variances on the screen? Because you're not screen sharing anything, correct, John?
I'm not trying to show anything, no.
Okay, I'm going to have Tate bring them up then so folks can see them, but I will just let you know, we will be voting again on all 7 variances tonight. So
I understand that.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, great. So Tate's just going to go ahead and bring those up on the screen so that folks can see them as you're talking through them. That way it'll just be a little bit easier for everyone to follow along. Again, sorry to interrupt.
Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Great.
Okay, I'll start at the top then. So the facility was designed as a muffler shop, and it was a pull-in situation where you waited out front until a bay opened up. They rolled up the door, you pulled in, they took care of your automotive needs at the time. So the UCO doesn't permit parking or drop off or vehicle maneuvering between the right of way and the front of the building without obtaining a variance. Now, these variances are given because of the design of the building. They will allow the parking, stacking, and maneuvering between the street and the front of the building. And the hardship that the UCO prevents the intended use of the building. So that's one. The second variance is a variance to 331225. And 3372-604 would allow maneuvering between the building and the parking setback line. So there's one for the building and the street, the other is for the building and the parking setback, and the hardship is technically based on the preceding first variance. So the parking setback is 10 feet behind the right-of-way, and this variance would reduce that setback to 2 foot 7 inches in order to have that vehicle be able to maneuver in that area. Then the next variance, the third variance, is to 331249 for the reduction of 1 parking space. And it's based on the required parking layout conforming to the current code, which is 3312. The maximum parking for the building can be accomplished by 5 parking spaces and the required maneuvering space at the rear of the building and 2 spaces in front of the building. The UCO requires 8 spaces, and consults that I've had with the traffic department will allow 7 spaces only on that site, including the 2 spaces in front of the building. So the hardship is that there's not enough space on the site to accomplish the 8 parking spaces. And the variance reduces the required parking from 8 to 7. And then the fourth variance is for 3321.05, which is for the required vision triangle, which is a 10-foot by 10-foot triangle that starts at the right-of-way line and lets you look left or right, both left and right, before you pull out into the street. Now, the interesting part is that right-of-way line is 10 feet inside the sidewalk line, which is 12 feet from the curb. So there's a lot of distance there, but one of the vision triangles is going to impinge on one of the variants of the 2 parking spaces in front of the building. So we have to ask for that one as well, because it's just there, when we get the parking variance, the vision triangle doesn't quite work. But traffic is aware that because of the location of it, there is still an adequate vision line when you're pulling out into High Street.
John, sorry to interrupt. We are past the 5 minutes.
All right.
If you just
I've
want
got
to
one more.
Okay.
The other variance is to 3372.607, which is the chain link fence that I explained before. And then the final variance is 3391.05, which should the structure be damaged in the future, that it could be rebuilt as it was on the site. That's it.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate that, John. Appreciate the presentation. Now we're going to go into our question section as just explained. If you have, we're just going to take your questions right now. I will type them out, just a brief summary, and then that'll be 5 minutes of the questions. If you have comments, feel free to type them in the chat box. And again, those comments will be sent along with our voting results as well. And then after the question section, we'll have an answer section. Okay.
Before you do that, can you place the sketch that they permit, the site plan? We don't see the site plan here.
Like a diagram of what the building looks like.
The site plan like they've done before.
We want to see the 100 cars in the parking lot.
No, Mike. We want to see the site plan he presented to the city.
Do you have
John,
it
do you have
available, John?
You should have it. I sent it to you.
So we don't typically share presentation materials ourselves. We did include those on our website. Those are available for viewing in the application. The participant or the applicant is more than welcome to share. We do not share presentation materials ourselves. We do display the variances for voting, but we do not display the presentation materials.
Now, politely and respectfully, why did you do that last time?
Yeah.
He did. We did not. We typically don't display those.
I'm
the
sorry.
Last time,
That's not
yes, you
correct.
did do that. We did see them on the screen.
Yes, I understand. I'm indicating that the presenter presented them last time, that the association, that we don't share those ourselves, but if the presenter chooses to have them, they certainly are encouraged to do so. But that's not, we do not facilitate that.
Laptop where he can present them? Does the presenter have them now on his laptop where he can present them to us?
That was my question to John.
I'm not sure how to get it done, but I will try.
No one here will understand what stacking is and what this means. This is very confusing with 7 of these applications. We can't begin to talk about how to approve. How can you approve it when you haven't got a site plan for people to see what it's going to look like?
Michael,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but we cannot get into an argument in this meeting. Again, this is an informational meeting with the voting process.
My
information was distributed.
Can't we see this and why
that information was distributed? It is available through our website if it was included in the application. They are not required to present
ready
it.
for questions then?
We are ready for questions. Yes.
My first question is everybody on the zoning commission are voting on this, and the people who are voting on this, have they reviewed this site plan in detail? Have they looked at this site plan is my question. Have they noticed on the upper left-hand corner the congestion of all the vehicles on that site plan? And have they noticed that the vehicles shown for stacking are cars and not trucks or box truck size on that issue? That's my first question. My second question is why? 2 weeks ago, we had 5 people here from the city. We had Catherine Call. We had Catherine from the Southside Commission. We had the zoning. We had we had a commissioner, and we had also the small business. They came unannounced and went next door and explained explicitly about getting the stuff together and being a better citizen. They followed that up a week later, and they brought in the policeman of this area, Officer Thompson, to explain to stop doing what they were doing. He actually told out vehicles. My question is coming up. He actually told out vehicles that they were illegal at the city expense that they had there. My question is this: if they're going to snub the police officer because they still have all these illegal cars out there, after the city has spent 10 hours here in the last 2 weeks talking to them about cleaning up their yards, and they turn around and basically give the finger to Officer Thompson, to Karen DeCall, and everybody else. And how do you expect us to ever believe, after 4 years and hundreds of complaints, that these people will ever move those cars stacked first thing in the morning, because we get here at 7 and they don't get here at 10? That's my question.
Okay. Respectfully, that question is not one that anyone in this meeting can answer, because we are not the city. I do suggest that you talk to Catherine Call. She was a wonderful resource.
No, I disagree with you. My question is, how can we be assured by that?
Michael, we cannot. That is not what this process includes.
We want to hear from him. We want to hear from him.
I'm sorry. I'm going to have to ask you to stop.
Put a hammer down.
I'm going to need to ask you to stop, or I will have to remove you from the meeting. This is needing to be a respectful process.
It is
and
respectful.
If you cannot be respectful and follow the quorum of this meeting, I will need to ask you to leave. Okay?
Here's my question. Why won't he address this issue, and why won't he address the issue with the police?
My understanding is that the gentleman presenting is not the owner of the property, nor is he the tenant of the property. He is here to represent an application for these zoning items. That is all our process covers.
My question is why is the owner of the tenants here? There's never been the one.
I think you need to speak to the owners and to the city, because we cannot address this issue.
That's why they were here twice last week.
Then please continue to speak with them. We cannot address this issue in this meeting.
Can I ask a question nicely?
Yes, you may.
This is what
please.
This is today. This is how they're stacking. They're covering the sidewalk, and we can't
we can't see nothing.
We can't see anything when a car's coming this way. We can't see, and we almost get hit every time somebody leaves our parking lot. They're also dominating our parking in front of our building where we have our parking spaces. We have a place for UPS, FedEx, and people to drop off. This is our space we pay for every year. They're dominating our space. They're dominating the sidewalk. They want more space, and nobody knows how to park next door.
And all you want to talk about is variances.
That is all we have the authority to discuss at this meeting. I understand you have concerns. I am sorry, this is not the forum to address them.
So I think
your question is in respect to the parking issues. Because that is okay. I'm sorry, but I am going to continue to mute you if you are going to interrupt me. This forum and our process is specific to the variance processes that you see on the screen. That is what we will be conveying with the city. If you have additional issues, please speak to the city. I believe your question related to the fact that additional parking is being requested when there are already parking issues. We will ask John to respond to that when we get to that point. Are there any additional questions from other individuals attending the meeting this evening? Okay, I don't see any hands raised. I do not see any additional questions in chat. All right, we are going to proceed to the answer portion. The first question is not for John. The first question was to the general members who will be voting. This is not really a question that we can ask members to respond to, but I can tell you that the application and the variances were sent to all members in accordance with our bylaws. Members have the right and ability to review that information ahead of time, and certainly the right to choose whether or not they vote tonight at this meeting. Those votes and those votes captured by members who are current will be passed along to the city. Members have the ability to vote in whatever way they see fit. The second question, John, if you can answer this again. I understand that you are not the tenant and you are not the owner. You are here to represent the variances. Can you at all speak to the existing parking issues that are blocking the sidewalk? Will these variances, if approved, in any way impact that? Will they further exacerbate the problems where the parking lot or driveways are blocked, where they will further obscure vision triangles? Can you speak to that with respect to the variances that are being presented?
Yes, the variances would pin down what is the appropriate use of the property and allow code enforcement to enforce the site plan. I don't go watch the site. I'm not the neighbor, and I'm sorry that there's all this animosity. It makes trying to deal with the process difficult, and I hate to have people have so much angst about things, but that's seemingly the way this one's going. I again would just say that we're trying to work with the city to find a site plan that is compliant, that works, and that the staff in both traffic and in zoning supports the variances that we have. These were all voted on back in May or March, I think March or May, but at any rate, they were all voted on. And then when we were getting ready to go to the BZA, staff reviewed it again and said, oh, by the way, that fence wasn't there between the buildings. And as customary, you can ask to be able to replace a building if it's damaged by fire or something on its to restore it to what it was. And so that's the second variance that changed from the original requests that were voted on by your group and by Southside, in the spring and early summer.
Okay, let me ask this as well. As far as your understanding of these variances that are requested, especially those with respect to parking, do any of the variances included here allow the owner or tenant to park vehicles on the site that obscure, overhang, or are directly on the sidewalk?
They do not.
They do not. So even if approved, these variances still do not admit permission for parking or parking on or obscuring the sidewalk. And if that issue should continue to occur, that would of course be an item that should in fact be reported to the city as a code issue, correct?
Absolutely. There is a parking setback line that is established on the site plan, and I apologize. I wasn't the last time around. I believe I just sent everything to Tate and it made it into your electronic presentation, and I'm not trying to withhold anything or whatever. But it's all the same stuff. The only two changes are the chain link fence that separates the tenant who was speaking before and the rebuild.
Can you confirm in the distance of feet and or inches what, if approved, the parking setback would be? Is that what is listed here? You want the parking setback to be, is this 7 feet 5 inches?
That is the reduction.
Okay.
Yeah, of the 10-foot setback. So it ends up being like 2'7". Yes.
And the setback is from the street or from the sidewalk?
From the right of way.
From the right of way. Okay. All right. Well, it looks like those are the only questions. Nothing else came through in chat. I have posted the link to the voting form in chat. So again, if you are a current member of the association and you have been for at least 21 days, please do go cast your votes now. We will give everyone a few moments to cast those votes. You'll see the variances are listed on the screen, and they are, of course, listed in the ballot as well. We will capture all of this information. Following the meeting, we will verify that everyone who votes tonight does have the ability to do so before we send those counts on to the area commission. But we will provide for you the counts as we see them tonight based on the information we have. So just going to give everyone a few moments here. Please go ahead and cast your ballots now. Okay, votes are still coming in. I'm going to give everyone just a couple more minutes. All right, we haven't received any new votes for the last minute. Is there anyone that needs some additional time? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and read out the votes. There are varying votes between the 7 variances, so I am going to read each one. I will try to be as quick as possible. And then, of course, we will publish this information in our minutes as well. So Tate, would you mind bringing the variance list back up while I read them off, just so I don't need to reread each of the variances to help save a bit of time? Thank you. All right, folks. So in line here with the numbers you see on the screen, 1 through 7, item 1, 3 opposed, 1 support, and 1 abstention. That item fails our recommendation. Item 2, 2 opposed, 2 support, and 1 abstention. Based on our bylaws, that item fails as well, as in order to succeed, it would have needed to have more votes in support. So that fails our recommendation as well. Item 3, 3 opposed, 1 support, 1 abstain. That fails our recommendation. Item 4, 3 support, 1 opposed, and 1 abstained. So that does receive our recommendation. That's item 4. Item 5, 3 opposed, 1 support, 1 abstained. That does not receive our recommendation. Item 6, 4 support, 1 abstain. That does receive our recommendation. And item 7, 4 support, 1 abstain. That also receives our recommendation. So we have a mix here. We will pass those along to the area commission once we have verified the votes. And we appreciate you presenting again this evening, Michael, or John rather, and we appreciate the comments from you, everyone. I understand that this is certainly a matter that has been very concerning for many folks involved. I do hope resolution will be possible with the help of the city and the tenant and or owner of the property. But as far as our process is concerned, that is where our votes have fallen. And unless you amend your application further, you'll now go back to the area commission and go through their process. So thank you again for participating this evening.
Thank you.
All right, have a wonderful night. And we will move on, folks, to our second zoning item of the evening.
Great. So our next one is on Thurman. It's going to be 231 to 233. Mark, I see you on the call. I'll go ahead and let you present.
So this project is we are looking to build a carriage house over some existing parking spaces. On the property right now, there is a 2-family dwelling, and each unit has 2 parking spaces and on a gravel lot in the back of the property. We are proposing to build a carriage house where that parking is currently. And the carriage house will have 3 indoor parking spaces, 3 garage spaces on the first floor, and 3 exterior spaces. So 2 parking spaces per unit. And can you pull up the list of variances so I can go through those?
And feel free, Mark, if you want to share any site plans that you have, feel free to share those as well. But if you don't, I can go ahead and share my screen with the variances.
if you want to share the list of variances, I'll go through those and then I'll pull my site plan up after that.
You should be able to see that now.
Oh, yep, gotcha. So, the first one, the alley that the parking would, Blackberry Alley is how they would access the parking spaces. The alley is not big enough as in terms of code. They require 20 feet, and we only have, I think, 16 or 17 feet to park in there. There is a perpendicular alley that kind of helps us out there, so it's not as big of a deal as trying to make a 90-degree turn. And in order to stack these two parking spaces, we will be reducing the parking setback. We'll pretty much be parking right up to the property line.
Hey, Mark. Hey, Mark, I think those are the variance requests from the previous presentation.
That's what I thought too.
Those aren't our variances. The address is ours, but the variances look like they're just,
yep.
Okay.
Thank you for catching that. Looks like we just swapped the lists. Give us one moment, folks.
no worries.
In the meantime, I did post the link to the voting form, and you can also see the variances listed there just to look ahead, but Tay will swap that out. It'll just take a minute.
Sorry about that. You should be good to go, and I'll give you an extra minute as well for that. Go ahead, Mark.
Whew, that makes me feel better. This looks more familiar. All right, so the first one, kind of as I mentioned, the code does not allow us to put a new building on a house or on a lot with an existing 2-unit dwelling. So we have a variance to build this carriage house. The second one, the lot, they require a bigger lot to build a carriage house. We are just under that, about 1,000 square feet under that. But this still does allow a decent backyard for the parcel. The lot is narrower than 50 feet. It's only 41 feet. But again, we still have sufficient space to build this carriage house and leave a decent backyard. Number 4, the carriage house will front Blackberry Alley instead of Thurman. That's really the frontage on Thurman is used up by the existing house. Number 5, we are pushing the carriage house as close to the property lines as we can, just to maintain that backyard. There's also a utility pole that is along Blackberry Alley, and that we are citing the carriage house based on where that is so that we can get parking spaces on either side of that pole. The parking pad, yes. So the parking pad, in order to stack 2 parking spaces, we will need to be closer than the required minimum side yard there. Number 7, I went over 16-foot maneuvering clearance through Blackberry Alley. We don't have the required 20-foot that we need, but again, we have a perpendicular alley that helps us out there. And then the last one is a 4-foot minimum side yard instead of 5. We just need that extra foot in order to get those parking spaces stacked in there. And I will try to share my screen. Can you stop sharing your screen so that I can try? There we go. This is the site plan. I don't know if you can see my cursor or not, but this is the existing house. Back here is the proposed carriage house with 6 parking spaces. Each will be stacked. So that's where we're at. And we've got our vision triangle here, and we will have a balcony over top of some of these parking spaces, which will semi cover some of those spots. I think that's all I got.
All right. Well, Tate's going to pull back up the variances just so folks can see them while they're asking questions. But again, folks, you know the process. We'll have 5 minutes to collect your questions. I do see one hand raised, so I'll call on Kyle Green first. And then, of course, if anyone else has questions, please feel free to raise your hand, or once Kyle has asked his question, we can jump to you. Go ahead, Kyle.
Hi. I just want to say I'm supportive of the carriage house. I just have a couple concerns about the parking. So the surface space is tight between the garage face and the right of way. I'm concerned that if those cars aren't pulled like directly up against the carriage house, that they're going to be sticking out into the alley. The second concern is just the maneuverability. Especially like parking space 2 right there in the middle. If there's cars on either side, it's it would be extremely difficult to get that car out. And then the third one has to do with the garage parking. You've got 19 feet outside to outside of your garage, which best case is 18 feet clear inside, which is, like, in my experience, borderline unworkable from parking your car and getting out of its standpoint. I say all that just to say that I only speak for myself, but if you end up studying this, the dimensions there, like, I would support a parking variance if you went down to 3 parking spaces, 1 for each unit. Like, I'd rather see you. I want this project to be built. I'd rather see you have 3 parking spaces that work than 6 that you're going to have trouble with in the future. So that's just my 2 cents. Again, I support the carriage house. I just wanted to call those things out.
Thanks, Kyle. I don't see any other hands raised. Does anyone else have questions they'd like to add?
I have one question. This
Go
is
ahead.
Kevin Parzik. I agree with Kyle also. I think there should be a parking variance for basically 1 spot per unit, 3 spaces that work, and probably a better design in the end.
Thanks, Kevin. Anyone else have anything to add? Okay. I don't see any other questions coming up. So if you would like to go ahead, Mark, and just respond to the items that are on the screen, I will post the voting link again. If folks are ready to vote, please feel free to start doing so. Otherwise, Mark, floor is yours.
Mark, I'm sorry, just 1 second. I am going to adjust that last point. I'm just going to say, would you be considered to changing the parking variance? That'll be a question that you can answer there, just FYI. But you can go ahead. Floor is yours.
So I definitely see your concerns. Understand your concerns with the parking. It makes sense. I guess I'll go numbers. And I guess one other thing to add, the city gave me comments to, and to planning and traffic maintenance. They both said that they would be supportive of reducing the required parking as well. So that might be the way that we end up going. But I guess, 18 feet is the required parking space dimension. So we are actually following that, but you are correct. They're tight. And as you pointed out, number 2 would be really difficult to get in and out of there. There is a perpendicular alley right there, so it doesn't have to make that 90-degree turn. It can back straight in and out of that spot. So, and then your number 3 question, yeah, it is not off the table to ask for a parking variance to reduce to 3 and get rid of those parking spaces. Along with the comments from the city, they wanted the carriage house moved closer to Blackberry Alley. So I think if we went that route, we would have to push the building closer to Blackberry Alley and eliminate 3 parking spaces.
Can I ask a question? This is Megan Terwilliger. I'm actually the owner of the building. I had a question for Kyle, just in response to the parking concerns. There are currently 2 cars, like 4 cars that park in a very similar fashion in tandem in the gravel lot that's right there. Would it eliminate any of the heartburn if we did the tandem stacking for the 2-car garage side and just a single garage spot for the 1-car side, and not have tandem for that 3rd one, thereby eliminating a middle car scenario and it being pretty similar to what it is now, except there's a building over top of the front 2 cars? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. That's not so much my concern. I'm not trying to bust your chops. I just don't want you to get to a point where you build this building and you figure out that 18 feet clear on the inside of a garage is not enough space. A parking space is 9 by 18, but that's a surface parking space, and technically that works in a garage. But I would encourage you to study some of that, because typically what we see is minimum garage dimensions like 20 feet. And that's because you got walls on all the sides of the garage. So by the time you get out of your car, you don't have that, you don't have a surface parking space next to you. You got a wall. You can't get around. I just don't want to see you build this and then find out, is all I'm saying. So
yeah,
like I said, I want this built. I support it. I just wanted to call that out.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I'm Mark and I have chatted, and I'm certainly not opposed to moving toward a variance of just to have 3 spots instead. I just want to be cognizant of the needs of the tenants in that unit, and trying to accommodate off-street parking for them as much as possible. I know it's hard to come by down there.
Thank you very much for that. Okay, I don't see any other hands raised. And I know we've kind of gone past that section. So here's what we're going to do. The floor is open for voting. I'm just going to give everyone a couple more minutes to vote. If anything comes up during this waiting period, please feel free to ask those questions. But otherwise, I'll just give everyone 2 more minutes to vote and then double check before I close the form. So. All right, based on the number of folks here, it seems like all the votes might be in, but let me just check. Is there anybody still voting?
Mine just says please wait at the bottom. I don't know if it went through or not, but
all right, let me give it just another second here then. It just came through. So there it was. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and really take a quick peek, folks, just to see if there is are differences between the items. All right. So there are. So I'm just going to go ahead and read these again one by one. The variances are on the screen and those will match the results I am reading to you. So item number 1, 7 in support, no opposed, no abstentions. Item 2, 7 in support, no opposed, no abstentions. Item 3, 7 in support, no opposed, no abstentions. Item 4, 7 in support, no opposed, no abstentions. Item 5, 7 in support, no opposed, no abstentions. Item 6, 7 in support, no opposed, no abstentions. Item 7, 6 in support, 1 opposed. And item 8, 7 in support, no opposed, no abstentions. So all 8 items do pass our recommendation process. So again, we will verify votes. We will send those along to the area commission and share the comments that folks did have tonight as part of our process. So Mark, thank you very much for presenting. Megan, thank you for being here as well. And folks, thank you for your feedback and for sharing your comments and working through the process with us.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a great night. All right, folks, we are finished with our zoning items for the evening. Kate, thank you so much for presenting all of that and having it on the screen and handling the timers. We really appreciate all of that. I know when we have several items, it can be a lot, so we do appreciate you. Thank you very much. Moving right along, folks. Something I'm very excited to talk about is the 2023 Merion Village Festival, which is less than 4 weeks away. So this is our last monthly meeting before the festival, which sounds crazy to say, but it is in fact true. So the festival is Sunday, August 27th from 12 to 6 p.m. in Moeller Park. If you have never attended, do not miss it. It is our biggest event of the year, and it is really such an amazing time. Right now, what we need from everyone is volunteers. So being our biggest event of the year, it takes a lot of manpower to make it happen. We have a volunteer form that Zach actually posted a link to earlier, and I will post one again if I can pull it up quickly enough. But we are needing volunteers to help us make the festival the best yet. There's lots of opportunities, set up and clean up, always huge. We also have some more low impact positions, maybe providing relief to our vendors, just checking in to see if maybe they need a quick bathroom break or grab a bottle of water. I think we have maybe a space or two left for monitoring our silent auction, a space for helping with our kids booth. So there's lots of different options depending on what suits you best. And of course, in thanks for volunteering your time, you will be able to receive either a free classic Merion Village t-shirt or one of our festival mugs and a drink token for the beer garden if you are 21 or over. So we do hope you'll sign up. That link is live. Please share with your neighbors. We still need lots and lots of help, and we would really appreciate anyone that can. If you'd like to help out, but you're not available on the day of the festival, first of all, we're bummed you'll miss it. We hope you'll be there next year, but we do have another volunteer opportunity. This weekend, we will begin distributing the door hangers around the neighborhood to make sure all of our neighbors know about the festival and are able to join us. And we also need lots of help distributing those. We have a total of 3,000 to distribute throughout Merion Village, and we have a form set up where you can kind of claim a street. Maybe it's near where you live, and that might be convenient for you. If you're interested in helping with that, you can just email me, president@merionvillage.org. I'll connect with you, get you the list, and get you signed up. We, again, need lots of help, appreciate you. And it's a great opportunity to just walk around the neighborhood, maybe don one of your Merion Village shirts as you hang a little message on your neighbor's door to let them know to come join us at the festival. So thank you in advance for your help. We're really looking forward to the festival and could not do it without you. So moving on, just a quick recap. We had the 24th annual Merion Village Garden Tour here in July, earlier in the year. It was a beautiful day. This tour was a little bit smaller than those we've had in the past. We didn't have as many volunteers to help get it planned this year, but folks who attended the tour did say it was a beautiful day. We had lovely weather, and we appreciate all of the hosts so much. Next year will be our 25th annual tour, so we're hoping that it will be bigger and better than anything before. We'll start planning that in February of next year. So if you're interested in being on the tour or helping to plan, reach out to us. We're really excited about it. And again, appreciate everyone who was able to come out and attend this year's tour, and of course, those who hosted.
So, Jess, we would be remiss if we did not appreciate one of the biggest volunteers of the entire event, yourself. So for those that don't
You're going
know,
to say
Jess,
Allison.
she eventually or inevitably became the de facto chairman of the garden tour this year. Our long-standing chairman, Allison Wolford, ended up having some conflicts at the last minute and wasn't able to volunteer as much as she wanted and had previously done. And so, other than cancel, Jess stepped in on top of the other very many things that she does to keep the association running very smoothly and coordinated the event so flawlessly as always. So, Jess, just thank you from all the rest of us who most definitely appreciated all the hard work that you did. So, thank you.
Well, thank you, Eric. But I will say Allison has laid a phenomenal foundation over the last, gosh, since 2016, I think she's been chairing the garden tour. So her foundation and of course the hosts who were willing to step up and share their gardens with us, that's who I have to thank. So I just hope everyone that did get to go to the tour had a lovely day. And I promise next year, bigger and better. All right, going on. So every year in November, the Merion Village Association Board, we have annual elections. Member at large is a role that is up for election every year. That is a one-year term. And then this election cycle, the role of treasurer and secretary are both up. Eric has been serving on the board for many years as our treasurer, and he is finally going to take some time for himself. So he will not be rerunning this year. That means certainly if you are interested in being a treasurer, please do nominate yourself. We'll have our nomination form. It's live on our website. You can nominate yourself as treasurer, secretary, or member at large, any of those positions you would be interested in filling. And then the elections themselves will be held at our meeting here in November. So if you're interested in joining the board, and you are a member of the association who lives within Merion Village, you are eligible to run for a board seat, and we would love to see some healthy competition. So please do consider nominating yourself or maybe, a friend or family member, as long as they know that you're doing it. Eric would tell you that they don't need to know, but we'd probably prefer that they do. So
Yeah, you're probably better off if they do. I'll say that from experience, but definitely have appreciated my time on the board. I've loved all the 6 years or almost 6 years. It's not as hard as it may sound for treasurer, and I'm happy to speak with anybody that may have some questions or just wanting to learn a little bit more about what all is involved in the role. We've done a lot of work over the last couple of years to automate as much as possible and to get some good software to help. So it's definitely not as intense, I think, as it could have been or used to be. So, anyways, happy to talk with anybody that might be interested.
thank you so much. So yeah, anyone, if you're interested in any role on the board, reach out to us. We'd love to talk to you about it. If you just kind of want to know what each role really looks like or what our experiences have been. But always looking for new faces to serve on the board and get involved. So those positions are all open for election this cycle. We will, of course, also announce candidates at the October meeting. So our October meeting will be the last chance to nominate yourself. So if you're thinking about it, don't wait too long. Only a couple more opportunities to get those nominations in before it's time. Also, speaking of October, we have our annual autumn yard sale, which will be Saturday, October 7th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. We've been hosting the second yard sale. Now, we've been hosting, of course, our spring yard sale for many, many, many years. It predates all of us that are here on the board currently. But we've now been hosting the autumn sale as well for, I think, 6 or 7 years, and it's gotten bigger each year. So if you're interested in being a part of that sale and selling that day, the application will go live soon. If you're a member of the association, you can register your Merion Village home or business for free for the sale. And if you're not a member, we certainly hope you'll consider joining. But if you're not ready to do so, you can register your home or business in Merion Village for $5 in that case. So we'll get that live soon. Looking forward to another great day, hopefully beautiful weather and lots of treasures to find around the neighborhood. I'll let everyone know about a special project we're looking into. Over the years, we've had several folks ask us about the possibility of selling Merion Village flags. So if you have a flagpole out front of your home, maybe you'd just like to display a flag and proudly let the Merion Village logo fly, we are looking into that now. We're kind of pricing it out to see what that might look like. I've gotten some fabric samples to make sure that they would be a quality product. If you are interested in potentially purchasing a flag, if we decide to move forward, this will be a pre-order only sale. So you'll need to pre-order your flag and then we'll order them in a batch. This is not something that we will be ordering and stocking due to the cost of the item. So stay tuned for that. We would certainly love to see Merion Village flags flying all over the neighborhood, and we certainly hope we can make that a reality. So stay tuned, everyone. All right. Also, let me get another link here quickly if I can do that. You know what? I don't have it up here. So yesterday, our store went live with our 2023 Marion Village logo T-shirts and festival mugs. As you know, we've been doing these kind of annual logo designs since 2020. This year's logo is fantastic. Those are for sale. However, the sale window is very short as the printer does need time to get everything ordered and printed for pickup at the festival later this month. So I will share a link here in just a moment. If you want to order a Marion Village t-shirt with the 2023 logo or a hoodie, because we have those this year for the first time ever, you will need to do so by next Thursday, August 10th. We will have a very, very small number of shirts available at the festival for sale for those who might not have pre-ordered, but they will go very fast. So please do not plan to purchase your shirts at the festival. And if you certainly do want to get your hands on those, we do suggest pre-ordering. We will only do one print run of these, so this logo will not come back, and this will be your only opportunity to snag that for yourself. So let me just get this posted really quickly here for folks who might like to grab one for themselves. They are all posted. I will say we had a small typo in the artwork that is displayed that shows the year established as 1890 rather than 1809. Rest assured that the printed versions of the shirts and mugs will have the correct date, and we will be correcting our display artwork as well. We just needed to get that coordinated with the fantastic neighbor who submitted this year's logo design. So 1809 will be correctly reflected, and we are very excited to see this logo showing up all over the neighborhood to the festival. Let's see here. Committee updates. We don't have any of our committee members present this evening. My understanding is that we will continue to have our third Thursday happy hour this month. That would be Thursday, August 17th. I'm not yet sure what the location is, but I'll check with Mike, our social committee coordinator. We'll get that published on Facebook so folks are aware of it, and we hope to see you all there.
Jess, I do have one
Yes,
more
please.
thing for zoning. I know everyone's probably zoned out, but just real quick, there is a demolition notification here. Let me pull that up here. It's pretty simple. I don't think there'll be any issues, but it's on 305 East Whittier Street. The applicant is William Earl Goodnight. And then so it's a demo of a garage. So there's no historical significance. It's just a demolition of a current standing garage there. If you want more information, I can share the link to I'll share the link to the application. That's all I have, Jess.
Thank you so much, Tate. All right. We don't have any area commissioners here with us this evening, so no Southside Area Commission updates. I'll just share a couple of quick dates for events. As a reminder, our Fitness in the Park series continues through the end of September. So Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. in Moeller Park, we have free fitness classes that are donation based. So you make a donation directly to the instructor of whatever you are able. Those are typically yoga classes, but we do have some HIIT classes mixed in there. So you can just follow us along to see who will be teaching and what kind of class to expect. But again, those run through September. So if you haven't caught one yet, there's still plenty of time to do so. We also have story time at Walker Park, which is every other Monday at 5:30 p.m. in Walker Park at the corner of Morrill and Brock. So bring your little ones over to hear a story. I believe, yes, this coming Monday will be the next date. So hopefully it's beautiful weather and folks can head on over with their kids, hear a story, and maybe even grab a book from the little library on site or share a book that maybe your family loved and wants to share with someone else now. All right, here. Southside Area Commission has their monthly meeting on Tuesday, September 26th, starting at 6:30 p.m. at the Parsons Library. And of course, our next monthly meeting is Wednesday, September 6th at 7 p.m. here, hosted virtually over Zoom. Otherwise, I will open the floor if anyone has anything they'd like to share, any questions. I'll remind folks that we need lots of volunteers. So if you're interested in that, please do reach out to us, look us up, follow those links. We cannot do it without you. So anyone have anything they'd like to share before we adjourn this evening? Okay, I think that's it then. All right, well, wonderful. Thank you so much for being here tonight, folks. Really appreciate you. Really looking forward to the festival. We cannot wait. Hope to see everybody there in just over 3 weeks, and hope to see all of your names show up on our volunteer roster as well. Everyone have a fantastic evening. Stay safe, and we'll see you soon.
Please volunteer. Thank you.
Thanks.